This baby story is actually an update. We talked about this a while ago when it happened, but as these stories go, sometimes it takes a while for us to finally get to somewhat of a conclusion. But we're going to talk about these two jerk offs that you guys see on my screen. If you've never been to my channel before, I don't like people who hurt kids. I don't like people who hurt babies. That's why we're the AFC, the Advocates for Children. We're going to give children a voice, and we're going to speak against people like this who hurt babies. But before we get into the details, let me give you guys a disclaimer about my channel. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And I'm getting this particular story from one of my favorite sources, lawandcrime.com, so thank you for the article. An Alabama woman has, after a long delay, accepted legal culpability for the blunt force trauma death of her 3-year-old stepdaughter. And y'all know I hate that word, stepdaughter. Where are my pictures? Okay, my pictures are disappearing, but it's okay. Might glitch out a little bit. We'll try to fix it. So she's accepted culpability in the death of her stepdaughter. So if they weren't married, she's not the mother. That means it's dad's girlfriend. Haley D.E.E. Metz, M-E-T-Z, 33 years old, entered a blind plea this week on one count of aggravated child abuse, meaning that the range of her eventual sentence was not hashed out as part of her plea deal. I have no idea what that means. And yes, this is such a beautiful little angel. Like, it just seems like I don't know, like it just seems like the pictures are almost like professional looking pictures, but you know, a lot of camera phones can take really good pictures too. But yeah, she's a beautiful little angel. In exchange for pleading guilty, prosecutors in Etowah County, E-T-O-W-A-H, I'm sure I didn't pronounce that right, agreed to drop one count of conspiracy to commit aggravated assault. Now, Haley D. Metz, dad's girlfriend, admission of guilt is the penultimate chapter in a dual criminal case against the stepmother and the father of the little girl by the name of Ada DeMasso, who was 3 years old and who died nearly 3 years ago. So that's how long it's been since we've talked about this. Meanwhile, a civil case against child welfare authorities is likely to go on for months, if not for years to come. In early October 2021, family members phoned the police to request a welfare check at a residence at Gadsden after finding the little girl unresponsive in a bathtub. And that's where we get one of our famous sayings here at the AFC, hashtag not another bathtub story. The reason that we say that is because a lot of these stories seem to be very odd, very weird, how you have children allegedly dying in bathtubs, which usually may involve clothes being on or off. I just don't like the idea that, especially people who are now biological parents, to be handling children when it comes to bathing. But that's just me. I'm very protective of my child. I don't know if you guys are like that. Now, if y'all are married, fine. I just don't like the idea of somebody that don't share a DNA tie with my child to be handling my baby in no type of form of taking off clothes. I actually have a very interesting story to tell y'all later on when it comes to how serious I am about my daughter and just being protective as a father in general. I know a lot of you guys are really, really good parents. Y'all feel where I'm coming from, mothers and fathers. Now, her father's name is Nicholas Joseph DeMasso, who's 26 years old, and was almost immediately taken into custody. Now, investigators quickly put the case against DeMasso, alleging he used his hands and or fist to beat the girl to death. Now, does that sound like a father who loved his child held to the gnaw? You can't justify that. There's no reason for that. And matter of fact, I'm going to continue to keep saying I don't like any parents at all that are physically assaulting their children. To black people, That means, in translation, I don't like you spanking your kids, hitting your kids, pushing your kids, mushing your kids, beating your kids, yelling, hollering, screaming at your kids, domineering over your children, right? I think all of it is horrible practice. If you're still being physical with your children, you need to stop. If somebody reports you, best believe if your story comes across my desk, I'm going to excoriate you the same way and hope that we get laws changed to make sure to get your asses in prison for a very long time. I'm tired of seeing these babies dying at the hands of these caretakers, these alleged human beings. I don't see, look, here's my thing. I just don't understand how you can see a face like this. Any face, any child, any baby, any age. And think that she could ever do anything so wrong to deserve a demise like that. She just wants to eat. She wants to learn. She wants to play. She wants to laugh. She wants to eat, sleep, be clean, be taken care of, and protected. The people who were supposed to do that in this case were these two jerk-offs here. I want nothing less than a life sentence for both of them in their participating roles. And I'm going to tell you guys this also. I like to take credit for this, and maybe some of y'all may agree or disagree. I like to take credit to think that because of channels like mine, that people like this, remember when I told y'all about kids, moms taking kids to the thug zoo and stuff like that, and it's always the boyfriend that ends up getting prosecuted. It's never the other party. Well, I like the fact that when you have both caretakers, if they see something and don't say anything, participate, I want both people to go to jail equally. Equal amount of time. If not, the lesser party needs to at least get half the amount of time in prison. So I like to take credit for that. But that's just me. So he used his hands and fists to beat his own precious angel to death. While exact details of the child's violent death have not been released in full, law enforcement later revealed that Ada had over 50 signs of trauma throughout her body, otherwise known as blunt force trauma injuries. 50. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8. And these are unique injuries that they're counting whenever they do the autopsy. They're counting not individual little bitty spots, but usually trauma spots that look like, yep, that's an impact, that's an impact, that's an impact, that's an impact. Separate impacts. 50 of them that ended up causing this baby her death. In October 2023, Ada's estate, led by her maternal grandmother, filed a long-expected lawsuit against the Alabama Department of Human Resources, alleging that Yellowhammer State System needlessly subjected the vulnerable girl to horrific and fatal violence. The lawsuit names the overarching state agency and several others, including 4 individual caseworkers, as defendants, and claims they violated laws, misinterpreted them, or acted negligently. I'm surprised I was able to get all them words out. In ways that proximately caused the toddler's death, according to a copy of the original petition obtained by the Gadsden Times. All these agencies touched and were warned that this poor child was suffering and she needed to get out of that house and out of that situation, and they failed her completely. And as a result, this tragedy occurred. Plaintiff's attorney Tommy James said in the comments to Birmingham-based Fox affiliate WBRC earlier this year. She had a broken arm that was healing. And that's my original video. If y'all want to go on my channel and find, just listen and see what I said prior to this. So I'm going to back that up so y'all can see it. If you're looking for the thumbnail, it will look like this. I haven't changed it, so it'll look like that. She had a broken arm that was healing. She's 3 years old. She had a gash in her foot. She's 3 years old. And she literally had marks up and down her entire body. She's only 3 years old. What this child suffered from is just horrific. You can't even imagine. On June 14th, DiMaggio was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole after pleading guilty to 1 count each of capital murder, which could have got him the death penalty, right? Of a child under age 14 years old and conspiracy to commit aggravated child abuse, according to WBRC. The girl had only been in her father's, Met sentencing is slated for November, so that's this month. We'll probably do one more update, and then that'll just be the end of the saga. So she's slated for sentencing this month. The girl had only been in her father's custody for only 8 months before she died, according to court documents obtained by the AL.com. And I know somebody in the chat asked, where was the biological mother? And I don't even know that I really have an answer to that. I just think you could even blame that on the mom. The same way that I would blame it on an absentee father, you could blame it on the biological mother for not being there for whatever reason. If he got custody and didn't deserve to have custody, or even if the biological mother lost custody, I'm not exactly sure. But you could point to those as being signs that this little girl was in a very rough position. She knows I won't rest until I know that her death, let me read that again. She knows I won't rest until I know that her death was not in vain, the victim's grandmother said the days after her death. Not the mother, the grandmother. I want everybody to know we fought hard to keep her safe, how the system failed us on every level, and how so many other families all over the country are going through the same hurt dealing with this horrible system. We're going to fight this to the end, believe that. That's from the grandmother. We ain't heard from the mom. But let me give you guys a disclaimer about my content before we get into the news video. Not a disclaimer, but the fair usage. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And also, thank you so much, Maria, for gifting those channel memberships. Thank you so much for showing support for this channel. It's super easy. All you guys have to do is just be subscribed, type in the chat, leave a comment. If you guys would do me a favor and please hit that thumbs up. Let other people find this video in the YouTube algorithm, and let's make stories like this go viral, okay? Here we go.
I'm Taylor Pollock from the First Alert Desk. A father has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole after he pled guilty to killing his 3-year-old daughter in Etowah County. Nicholas Joseph DiMaggio was sentenced Thursday after he pled guilty to capital murder of a child under 14 and conspiracy to commit aggravated child abuse. This comes after his daughter, 3-year-old Ada DiMaggio, was found in a bathtub and unresponsive back in 2021 after a concerned welfare check. Officers say they found that 3-year-old with over 50 signs of trauma covering her body. The child's stepmother, Haley D. Metz, is also currently facing charges of aggravated assault and conspiracy to commit aggravated assault in connection to the child's death.
A grandmother in Etowah County tonight still fighting for justice in the death of her precious granddaughter.
It's a heartbreaking case, but one we hope can bring some help. We want to warn you the details are hard to hear. About the case of this little girl, 3-year-old Adaya Grace DiMaggio. She was found dead in her dad's East Alabama home exactly 2 years ago today. Now, court records say she had dozens of signs of trauma on her body and her head was shaved. Our East Alabama reporter Reggie Kyle has been digging into the story. He's live tonight after talking to her grandmother's attorney about what they hope, Reggie, that a new lawsuit against DHR can accomplish.
Jonathan, Chandra Poe Davis was quoted as saying that she will not rest until she knows that her grandbaby's death was not in vain.
A lawsuit was filed last week against the state of Alabama Department of Human Resources, along with individual caseworkers in Cherokee County, Jefferson County, and Etowah County for their alleged roles in the death of 3-year-old Ada Grace DiMaggio.
Because all these agencies touched and were warned that this poor child was suffering and she needed to get out of that house and out of that situation, and they failed her completely. And as a result, this tragedy occurred.
The lawsuit filed by the Tommy James law firm alleges multiple failures by DHR and the named individuals after the child was found in a bathroom unresponsive after a concerned welfare check. Officers say they found a 3-year-old with over 50 signs of trauma covering her body.
Because there are old and new injuries on her. She had healing rib fractures, multiple healing rib fractures. She had a broken left arm that was healing. She had a gash in her foot. She literally had marks up and down her whole body. What this child suffered from is just it's just horrific. You can't even imagine it.
Ada's father, Nicholas DiMazzo, has been charged with capital murder and conspiracy to commit aggravated child abuse, while his girlfriend, Haley D. Metz, was charged with aggravated assault and conspiracy to commit aggravated assault. Both are awaiting trial.
This child was living in a horrible situation. She lived in filth. Complaints had been made of abuse and neglect. Complaints had been made of serious drug use by the father, heroin use. He was an absent father oftentimes, so she would be by herself, Ada would be by herself. So the entire system utterly failed her, and it's inexcusable.
Now, I reached out to DHR for comment about this situation, but have not heard back yet. I reached out to the grandmother. She did release a statement saying, if we can just save one child from the hands of someone that would harm them, then all of this would have been worth it. We hope that we can make Ada proud. That was a statement from the grandmother. Reggie Kyle, WBRC, Fox 6 News, on your side.
So glad to have you with us. We start with a really tough story. A woman in Etowah County will spend the rest of her life in prison for her role in the murder of her 3-year-old stepdaughter. Haley Metz pled guilty to a charge of aggravated child abuse connected to the death of 3-year-old Ada Grace DiMasso.
The child was found in a bathtub, unresponsive, covered in injuries during a welfare check in 2021. Your East Alabama reporter Reggie Kyle was in the courtroom today and spoke with the girl's grandmother. Just such an awful, heartbreaking story.
Morgan Etowah County Circuit Judge William Ogletree apologized to the courtroom for becoming emotional while handing down a life sentence to Haley Lee Getz.
There should be a means for a grandparent to step in and have some of those rights, but right now there's not.
In June, Nicholas DiMasso was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole after he pleaded guilty to killing his 3-year-old daughter, Ada DiMasso. His girlfriend, Haley Metz, received her life sentence today after pleading guilty to an aggravated child abuse charge.
So while you sit in prison and you think about the cruelty that you gave, I'm not wishing the worst on anyone because I know, like I said, I have to live my life past this, but I think this was the best possible sentence.
Sandra Poe. And it's really about the best that you can get. For him to get a life sentence, and there's a good chance that she's probably going to get, I'd say maybe, 15 years, maybe 20 years is what I'm hoping for. If y'all are watching, do me a favor and please hit that thumbs up. We want to try to have one thumb up for everybody watching. Everybody that hits that will help us out quite a bit. So if you're listening, please hit that thumbs up. So I agree. Even if they just save one life going forward, then what their actions are doing, I would say is worth it. But I just hope that people do the right thing. Like when it comes to suing and winning money and stuff like that, you just pray and hope that people do the right thing and that the right message gets out there. So I'm with them on that.
Ada's great-grandmother says she's trying to heal from this traumatic experience.
This moment and this time actually gives us the strength that we need, and so all of us just can start beginning the true healing process now.
From graphic pictures to listening to the abuse and torture her grandbaby suffered, Chandra Poe Davis says it was all worth it to get justice for Ada.
Even if she was here, she can't speak for herself, but we were just, you know, we wanted to make sure that we were here in any capacity that we could be. There were parts where I did have to walk out because I had a memory that I wanted to preserve of her, and I knew that in order to move past this, I had to be able to fight.
Now, Chandra Poe Davis went on to say that this tragedy has given her family a purpose. They want to make sure that grandparents have the right and the ability to save at least one child.
I gotta say this. I love how well spoken the family is, especially the grandmother. Very eloquent, very concise. You got right to the point. Compose yourself. Like, I love when we are able to purport ourselves like that. Like, I think that's just such a beautiful showing. You know, when it comes to just trying to break this stigma. You know, even like me, I don't speak very well. I don't read very well. I could be a little bit hood and ghetto half the damn time. But I try my best to at least try to represent myself in a way that shows that I have some class, right? So shout out to the grandparents. And again, it makes me curious where the biological mother is. So I'm assuming that the biological mother is black. It don't take a rocket scientist to look at this baby and see that she is mixed, because clearly the grandmother is black, meaning she probably had a black child. And you see that the biological father was a white man, right? Where is that mother? Why are we not hearing from her? That's still a big part of this story. Like, so if they got custody, then you would have to think, okay, mom must have done something bad. So it sounds like you just had two people that got together that were just not good parents. To the grandparents, I'm not trying to just dump on that woman and not know what she is or what she's not, but that's the conclusion that I have to draw based on the circumstances. Why would she lose custody? Why were y'all not able to get custody? Part of that is, I think, a flaw in the system, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I am a proponent for biological fathers getting access to their children. And because this weak ass, punk ass, sorry ass, crap of a man failed his own child, he sets fathers back. This sets fathers back. This says to the system, maybe we might need to rethink this thing and not just automatically give the other DNA parent the custody of their child. So that sucks, because imagine if I was ever in that situation and I needed to get custody. And shout out to my daughter's mom, shout out to my daughter, shout out to my kids. But if I were in that situation, I wouldn't want to jump through a bunch of hoops and hurdles to be able to get custody of my daughter. Like, I'll just be like, hey, come check my place. My place is good. All right, cool, we good. And she should be here, and that should just be the end of it, because I'm the biological father. So for this man to take this beautiful honor and privilege of being a man and a father and creating a legacy so that this baby should be able to grow up and become something great, to fail her in the worst way possible, I think that your soul and your girlfriend's soul is required in hell for what y'all did. There's a special place for people who hurt, murder, and abuse children. Ida, young princess, R.I.P. The only other thing we'll probably do is if we get a final sentencing on Dad's girlfriend, we'll do that story. Beautiful little angel lost her life for absolutely no reason. Y'all do me a favor, if y'all have thoughts about the story, please post a comment in the comment section. Or if you even maybe know for sure where the biological mother is, please let me know as well, okay? Thank you.